for talking to us about the implementation of Admissions Plus in your school. And so, yeah, just really to get the story and a little bit of background, be really interesting. So what led you initially in your school to think about Admissions Plus at the end of the journey, I guess, but even before that, just what led you to look at having a different system at all?
Okay, well, we were amalgamating these sites together. So there are 4 secondary schools that lead into 3. They each had, there was 3 sixth forms between them that just kind of led straight on. And then when our trust kind of took over all of them, we now run the sixth form pretty much as one. So my boss is the head of all of the sixth forms, and there's 3 separate sites. So you can imagine there's a lot of students in that. And basically we wanted something that could keep all of that information in one place and just make everything smoother, quicker, because I do the admin for all of them. So that's a lot of forms and applications to try and keep track of.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Sorry, I've got alerts going off here, I need to turn off. So could you explain a little bit about, before you discovered Admissions Plus, how did your system actually work? What were your admissions processes like before that?
So they were slightly different on the 3. So the biggest site, which is where I am at the moment, we had a Google form, which then obviously fed into a spreadsheet. But that was quite difficult to keep track of because the kids would do several. They'd do a Google form and then they'd change their mind with the courses they want to pick, so then they'd do another one, or they'd half do it, and it wasn't the best way of, you know, keeping track of things. And obviously the spreadsheet could be edited by whoever had access to it, which was always a little bit, you know, we had to put a lock on it, and then it was like, oh, you know, if you change it with the student, or if you changed it in the spreadsheet, and it was all kind of, it was just a little bit too editable, I guess. I couldn't really keep track of it as easily. And then on the 2 smaller sites, they had paper applications. So, you know, they needed to be printed off, filled out and dropped into the school, which isn't ideal. And then when we were coming together, we just kind of thought, we can't have all these different ways of doing it, but also we didn't really want just a Google form or something. It just needed to be a bit more kind of less room for human error, really, which is what we liked with Admissions Plus.
Yeah. Okay. So once you had obviously maybe looked at different platforms and thought about different solutions and what would work for your school, how did you find the setup process then once you'd selected Admissions Plus and decided to implement it? And you know, was it difficult to implement? Was it easy? That's quite interesting how you went through that process.
Well, last year was the first year that we used it, so I pretty much, and it was a bit of a rush because we just decided before, it was literally a couple of weeks before open evening, so it was a bit of a rush to try and get it all set up, and I was the only person, you know, kind of working out how to do it and setting it all up. So there were definitely some tricky bits, but I mean the support is always there, which is great. And last year they did a fair amount of setting up the courses and things for us. But throughout the year, obviously, I got used to the system and how it worked. And then things like results day and sending out the offer letters just so much easier. And this year it will be easier again because we've set up. Obviously, we started a bit earlier setting up the form and getting it all running. And this year we've imported all the students from those 4 schools that I mentioned. We've imported all the year 11s into Admissions Plus already with their predicted grades and everything. And they've even been able to tag them to their kind of home school. So the 2 schools that lead into 1 sixth form, they're all tagged as that sixth form. These ones are all tagged to this one and so on, so that we know which one they're an internal for, kind of thing. And then if they want to apply for one of the other sites that they don't attend, they can apply as externals, and they've still got it all there in in one place, and they can't go back and change their courses. You know, and we can even have people in the system who can do the interviews in the spring, but can't change the kids' options and can't, you know, have a look at any of the other data that we don't necessarily want teachers and everybody to see. Can still go in and do the bits that we need them to do. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you're able to see which how many students are coming from each of the different feeder schools.
Yeah, so I can filter.
Yeah.
You know, like with emailing them, which I do a lot throughout the year with interviews and everything else. I can either interview them all, email them all in one go, or pick which site to do. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Excellent. That sounds much more sort of straightforward and good for the data when you're reporting to SLT or, you know, different departments in different feeder schools. Makes that much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And we, you know, with our logins this time as well, we just made a Google Classroom for the tutors across all of the secondary schools. We've got the tutors in there, and I've just put all the logins up. So I've obviously emailed the logins to the students,
yeah,
put them on the Classroom for the tutors. So there's not all this, oh, I don't know how to do it, I don't know my login. They've got it all there already, and it should be a much smoother process, which it has been. We've got lots of them applied already. And it's been very smooth.
Did you just get Admissions Plus for this year, 2020 Enrollment Day?
So the students started 2 months ago. That was our first, yeah,
right.
So just over a year.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. So you've mentioned some of the benefits already, but what would you say in Midsomer Norton has been the biggest benefit of transitioning to a digital admission system?
I think the time saved, definitely, and obviously the cost of paper, but I think probably more than anything, it's the relationships. It's just been made so much easier for us to communicate with parents and with the students. So the function of being able to copy parents into the emails going to students, you know, this is what you need to do next, or, you know, you haven't finished your form or whatever else, and in the spring this is when your interview is, you know, this is what you need to do before results day. All of those things, to have the parents copied into that is just incredible, because it just takes away that area of you know, that there's no opportunity for them to say, oh, we didn't know what was happening, we didn't know, you know. It helps the parents feel more involved, I think, and same for the house staff, you know, the head of years and the tutors and everything in the school. They know exactly what's going on, and I can quickly, you know, if they say, oh, has so and so in my tutor group applied, I can just tell them at the click of a button, you know, where that student is in the process and what they've chosen and everything. So that's probably the biggest benefit. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So what's the biggest difference for Enrollment Day itself? And you've mentioned obviously that it's been made sort of more streamlined and it's a bit easier compared to your previous Enrollment Day and how it now operates. What are the sort of main changes that you've seen with that on the actual day?
Okay, so well, last year we would have had forms. Well, before we had Applica, we had a lot of forms. So there's obviously an IT policy, a mobile phone policy, there's photos, there's, you know, the sixth form agreement. There's so many policies and consents that they have to agree to, or that we need parental signatures for. So what I did this year, you know, this summer just gone, I did a short enrolment form, and I decided to do that, to have that running before results day. So kind of end of July, beginning of August, I sent out to them all and said, you need to complete this and have all these policies and consents in place in order to get your formal offer on results day. So I knew that anybody that was at that place of being able to make an offer to them, I knew they'd already agreed to everything, and everything was in place for them to start in the September. Whereas before, I mean, I used to print, there's probably 7 or 8 different forms and policies, and I just have each of them in a different colour paper. And, you know, most of September was chasing those forms and making sure everybody had the right one, filing them all in there, you know, in their paper files, and you know, yeah, chasing the kids and then chasing the parents for the ones that weren't filled in. So that has been such a godsend to know that it's all done. And doing it that way meant that on results day, because previously we'd be stuffing all these forms into envelopes and we'd have 3 different letters. So we have a letter saying you've got into all the courses, one saying you've got into some courses but you're going to need to change your choice on others, and then obviously a letter saying you haven't quite got the grades. So doing everything else ahead of results day meant that the day before results day, when we got those grades in, I just set up 3 groups. One got into everything, got into some of them, and not got in. And I just went through and tagged the kids into one of these groups, wrote the emails, and basically just set it all up. It probably took a morning to get into the groups to know which letter they needed to have, which email they needed to have on results day. And I knew that those kids had already completed all those forms and were ready to go. So on the morning of results day, it was 3 buttons. It was send out the email to say they've got in, send out the email to say they've got into some, and then send out the email to say, you know, we need to talk to you and see what else you can possibly do. So the amount of time saved, partly the day before results day and on results day itself, but also just throughout that month, you know, just going through, checking their details and saying, you know, and if there are any anomalies on their form. I mean, obviously that they're 15-year-olds, some of them do put silly things on their enrolment form, and I was like, one of them put their doctor as Dr. Chocolate, lives in chocolate surgery, you know. As I saw it come through, I just rang the parent and said, look, this isn't quite right. Can you get them to just go back in, put those details in, and can you make sure that we've got your consents on things, so that I knew that all those parents had seen the forms, they were completed properly, and then we were good to go on results day. So it was massive difference from what we've done previously.
And did you hear back from parents that maybe had been associated with the school with maybe older siblings, or, you know, did you get any feedback from parents to say, oh gosh, this is so much easier than it was before? Just wondering if you had feedback on that.
Not particularly from anyone who'd been here before, but we had really positive feedback where they were comparing us to other places they'd applied to, or a process that they'd done with an older sibling. I don't know whether it was here or not, but yeah, there were a lot of parents that said how smooth it was, and also how well informed they felt along the way. And I've already had that this year as well, that parents know exactly what's going on, you know, and I'm able to just keep them involved at every step.
Yeah, which is great, isn't it? Because obviously it's great that the students can have a good start to their interaction with a school before they've even joined. There's that good feeling that, you know, the school cares about me, the school understands my needs, and they're communicating with me and with my parents, and all that whole, it just makes the journey really smooth before they even join.
At that age where, you know, maybe if they're applying to colleges, they probably won't get that same level of communication, or, you know, and it is tricky because I find a lot of the time the kids don't necessarily tell the parents what I've sent out, or, you know, or the parents are anxious that their child isn't going to do the application, or that they're missing something. But yeah, and I can easily just look up their student and say, no, they've done X, Y, and Z, now they need to do this, and it's just there on the screen in front of me. So yeah,
good. So I guess the last part of the puzzle, once you've done your enrolment day, you transfer the data over into your MIS, which is Sims. So how did that process work for you, or could you just describe what you needed to go through to get the data all into Sims?
So basically, when I didn't do the data transfer myself, but in the lead up to results day, so what I've said about the enrolment form, once they'd done the enrolment form and I was going through the day before results day and just approving them going from applied to enrolled in the courses, as I just pinged them through onto that next step, they were then enrolled in the courses, so that the next day, within those few days after results day, our data team could see exactly who was in what courses and what they were doing. And then once they were all there, which literally was a day or two, once they were all enrolled, they just used the integrator app, and it was a matter of minutes to go from all this information that we'd spent months, getting ready and collating, and it was literally minutes, and it was all in Sims. And previously, where they would have had to put the kids into the courses on Sims, that would have been days of work, and it was just done in minutes. So yeah, that was really and I'd put their Sims admissions numbers and things in. With externals, they created, I think it's called an ATF, where they'd created that information and put them in as an external, and then they could go ahead and request the CTFs from previous schools. So yeah.
Okay. So did that, being an easier process, did you see any increase in numbers that using the platform?
It's hard to say that, because it's only been the 1 year that we've used, but all the feedback's been really positive, and I think I think it will be easier for the Year 11s to apply. So hopefully that might encourage them as well, that there's very little they have to do. They just log in, pick their courses, and they can go from there. Yeah.
And I guess for that age group, it's nice that they can apply even on a mobile phone, can't they? So
yeah, exactly. It takes some minutes, and hopefully they can stay where they are, and that's the goal, really.
Fantastic. So Amanda, thank you so much for speaking with us today.